1, purl 2, knit 1, purl 2, knit 1, purl 2. Oh, hey guys, welcome back to 1822 MC Adventures and More. My name is Pete. This is my channel. Today, what I'm doing is some basic hammock repair, and I'll be talking about my repair kit and some basic repair tips. So let me finish this up real quick. So what I did was, unfortunately for me, my first night in the hammock, I fell out of it. And I tore the screening in the process of doing that. So I've had to repair it, obviously. And let me get around to the other side and we'll get into all this. Alright guys, so this here's my sewing kit right here. Last time I did a cleanup, or the time before that, I found this here cigar tin, and I thought it would make a absolutely great repair kit. So let me show you what's in this kit. Alright, so as you can see, I have a razor blade taped to the lid so I can cut things. I have some I have a curved needle, I have 2 sail needles, I have some regular size sewing needles, I have some buttons, I have some fake catgut twine, and I have some 8-pound test power line. I also have some black thread, some white thread, and some khaki thread. And for basic repairs, this should cover everything I need. But when I found this here tin, I knew I struck gold, so I definitely put that in my pocket, not in the garbage bag. But let me tell you about what I had to do to this here hammock. So my first night in it, I didn't have it set up quite the way it should be, and I got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom because it had been a heat wave. It was like June 21st. It was over 100 with the heat index, so I drank a lot of water. So I get up, I do my thing, get back into the hammock, no problem. I get back up probably maybe 3 o'clock or so, one more time, and I'm like dead asleep. I get out of the hammock, I go do my thing, I stumble back into the hammock. I guess I thought I was back home in a bed or something, but next thing you know, I'm freaking ass over tits, and I'm laying on the ground. Thank goodness I know how to do stunts, because there was a time in my life when I was absolutely fantastic at taking a fall, or as some people would say, taking a bump. So I go ass over tits in the hammock. I land kind of on my shoulder and my leg and my hand, kind of in a 3-point. How would I describe that? Like a 3-point flop, kind of like the way the legend Ric Flair used to take his bumps after he had his plane crash or car wreck or whatever it was that he got all messed up in back in the day, and then he had to kind of learn how to refall. But anyways, before I digress on that, so I fall down, I'm laying there, and I'm like, oh, son of a bitch. So now I'm trapped in the hammock. I can't find the damn zippers, and I'm stuck there, and it had ripped from about here to here. So I had to like finally just claw my way out of it, got my wits about me, got back in it, went to sleep for about another hour or so, and I got up and went on my way, and it went from bad to worse on that trip. That's when I went to the mountains. So I get up and I get ready to go. I look on my phone, I see there's rain, and that was no exaggeration. So after having a rough night in the hammock, I got pissed on almost all the way up to the mountains. That's another story. I think I mentioned it in an earlier video, but back to the repair deal. So what I did here was when I fell out, obviously this ripped, and then I had some smaller stress rips in it that I've sewed up. And of course these things here pulled out, and these are what hold the netting up. And so what I did was, like this long one here, I threaded up my needle, and then I went to the right and brought it all the way over to here, and then I brought it back to the left. So I have crisscrossing stitches, and then I went down one more time with like what I would call a locking stitch, where I'd loop it through and then pull it through the loop, almost like a half hitch. Makes it more secure. You don't pull it super tight because then you'll wreck your netting. But I don't believe I have any more pinholes in here, so I managed to salvage it because as much as I like River Country products, I did look at the warranty, and the warranty does not cover clown on a motorcycle going ass over tits through the screen, so I had to fix it. But back to the sewing thing. Real quick story, where I learned how to sew. When I was a little kid, my grandma, one of the things that she did was she was a seamstress. Among all the other things she did, she would make clothes. She even used to make uniforms for my G.I. Joes. I shit you not. I still have one. He's got a trench coat, the whole 9 yards. She would take old uniforms and cut them up and make uniforms for my G.I. Joes. She would make doll clothes for my sister. She was fantastic. She really was. Firstborn immigrant. My grandparents on that side, they came from Denmark. She was firstborn in America. And on my mom's side of the family, my great-grandparents, they came from Norway. So my grandmother and my mother are first and second born here. So whatever that makes me, that makes me. As far as I'm concerned, it makes me a fucking American. Anyways, she would sew anything and everything. I mean, she would fix our socks. You know, the old trick where you put a light bulb in the end of the sock and you darn it. I know how to do all that. And I remember one day I was probably 8, 9 years old, and she was telling me, now you need to pay attention. You need to learn how to do this, because one day I will not be here to do this for you. And of course that just, obviously that did not register as a kid. I'm like, oh yeah, gee whiz, man. I'm like, yeah, nah, you know, didn't understand what she was saying. But she taught me to sew, and, oh yeah. The first time she let me run the Singer. So, she showed me this. It was an old one back then, a big black Singer, you know, and it had the foot pedal, and, it was so old you kind of had to get it going with your hand first and then give it a little gas. And so she's explaining this all to me, and I got it down, and I'm fixing to run a scene, right? And so I get it in there, and I get it going. And like I said, I'm like 8, 9 years old. I don't know better. The only thing I've ever had with a throttle on it before that was a fucking go-kart. So I'm like, wah! I floor that fucking thing, and that thing all of a sudden just fucking went wild. It probably had never run that fast. And I remember my grandma about fucking stroked out, and she's like, ugh! She's like grabbing everything, getting me off it, and the thing calmed down and everything. And my first experience on the machine was not a good one either. But I did learn how to do it, and if I had a machine like that, I could put the bobbin in there and thread the needle and all that good stuff, because I used to do it for her when her eyes started going bad. But I could tell some really funny stories about some of the things that she did as far as sewing goes. I mean, not only did she make clothes for the family, but another real quick one, guys, while it's in my head. And if there's any snowflakes out here, go fuck yourself, because this took place in like the 30s and the 40s. My Uncle George, he had a circus sideshow. And it was like Uncle George's Dancing Jamaican Midgets or something like that. I don't remember, whatever the name of it was. But what he did every year is he went down to Jamaica, and he would look for the shortest, smallest, cutest, good-lookingest midgets he could find down there. And he'd bring them back up here, and he'd put them in the sideshow. They did a dancing review thing with dancing midgets. Dancing calypso midgets. But I remember my grandma talking about them, and she'd say, oh yeah, they were some of the nicest people you ever wanted to meet, you know. And she'd say, oh yeah, I'd set them up on the table, the kitchen table, and then I'd take all their measurements. And she used doll clothes patterns to make their clothes, because, you know, back in those days, you could buy full-size patterns for full-size dolls to make clothes. So she basically would make their costumes and uniforms and stuff through doll patterns. But she had some of the greatest stories about making uniforms and costumes for dancing Jamaican midgets. And I'll never forget those stories. There's some real good ones. But yeah, I always thought it was funny. She'd say, oh yeah, we'd just set them right up on the kitchen table, and we'd take their measurements, and we'd sit them back down talking like they were little kids or something. But yeah, back in the day, when they still had freaks and geeks at the circus. And now, we don't even have a fucking circus, and all those freaks and geeks are running loose out on the fucking street. Anyways, back to this. You really don't want to go out in the woods without a repair kit. It's just common sense. I had one the night I fell through this, but I didn't feel like sewing it up, and I just left it in the saddlebag for the rest of the trip. Didn't want to fuck with it. But anyways, before I start digressing into another crazy story, this is my new sewing box. Before I had it in just a little Altoids tin. It was just a couple needles and a little bit of thread. Much more stuff here. So with that being said, I hope you're still with me. I hope you enjoyed me talking about my sewing kit and a couple little stories. I'll see you on the next one. The next one will be me talking about my hammock, what I didn't know about it and what I've learned about it since. So with that being said, follow me. I'm out of here, and I'm taking a shortcut.